What if seven figures was the floor? What if that's what we did at our baseline? Just imagine, just visualize it. Just sit with the picture. Just sit with the picture of you where the floor is seven figures, where you're doing multiple seven figures. Just sit with it.
Hi, docs. Welcome to the EntreMD podcast, where it's all about helping amazing physicians just like you embrace entrepreneurship so you can have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on your terms. I'm your host, Dr. Una.
Over the last few days, I have had the wildest idea, and I think I'm going to go for it. I started thinking, what if in the physician community, a seven-figure business was the new floor? Like, that's kind of what we did. And then people would do multiple 7 and 8 and all this other stuff. What if that was the case, right? Now, we have had so many doctors cross seven figures, and we have many doctors who are on track for 8 figures. And the EntreMD Business School is only 5 years old. So that's a pretty phenomenal feat. And so I was thinking about it. I was like, what if that's the goal I adopt for 2026, right? Okay, so I'm just letting you to, the way my mind works. But when I started thinking about that, and by the way, if you don't know, this is a question that I want to invite you to start asking yourself a lot. Rather than rejecting things like, oh, I could never do that. Oh, I could never have that. Oh, I could never be that or whatever. Just go like, what if? Because it puts it in play mode, game mode, allows you to explore. It's a fun place to be. But anyway, so I started thinking about it. It's like, what if we made it where a seven-figure business was what we just did, right? That's just what we did. And I said, what would be the things I would have to address to help doctors get there? Okay. And so the first thing that I thought about, there are about 5 or 6 of them, but the first thing I thought about is they're going to think it's too much work. Like, oh my goodness, what I had to do to get to where I had. And when I say 7 figures, I don't mean like 7 figures is the floor, right? So for you, it may be you're already at 7 figures, you're already at multiple 7 figures. But if you're like on your path to upper multiple 7 figures, 8, like you're like, oh, all the work it took me to get here, I cannot possibly do any more work. Okay. And because of that, you just cancel it. So in this episode, I just want you to lean in, have the what if mentality, and let's explore this together. Okay. So the greatest fear that comes up is it's going to be too much work. I'm going to need to hustle too hard. I'm going to burn out. I'm going to have to sacrifice my health because, I won't be able to sleep as well. I won't be able to exercise. I have to sacrifice my family, my relationships with my family. I have to give up vacations. I have to do all this. It's like literally, I can't have my dream life, right? If I go after this. Now, in the EntreMD Business School, in EntreMD in general, we are so big on the dream business and the dream life because we want you to have both. I, for instance, have no interest whatsoever in building a business that I need to sacrifice my faith, my family, or my fitness to accomplish. Like I have no interest. Okay, so when we talk about building a business that's thriving, that is in the context of a thriving life. Okay, thriving in all 9 areas of life. This is the fear that comes up a lot. And so I said, let me test it. Let me see if this is really what still comes up. And I did a post in a Facebook group. I was like, when you think about your first or next 7 figures in revenue, what are those, negative thoughts or limiting thoughts that come up? And this came up and up again and again for the work. Okay. All right. So let's talk about this. All right. Is it going to be hard work for you to build a 7-figure business? Yes. Is it going to be hard work for you to do multiple 7 figures, 8 figures and beyond? Will it be? Yes. However, it's not the hard work you think. Okay. What we think is if I had to do 20 calls to get 20 patients, in order to get 1,000 patients, I need to do 1,000 calls, right? If I had to do a Facebook Live every week in order to build this business where, we got to multiple 6 figures, if I want to go to multiple 7 figures, I need to go live every day. Whatever it is, we just multiply. That's not the way it works. The pathway that got you to 7 figures chances are it will not get you to multiple 7 figures and it will not get you to 8 figures. And this is the reason why people come to certain levels in their businesses and they stall. Because even if they're willing to do the hustle, which is what that is, like linear hard work, even if they're willing to do the hustle, that hustle cannot generate the result. What you did to get to 6 figures, you try to do that to get to 8 figures, it will never work. Okay? So It is hard work, but not in that way. It is hard work because you are going to need to change. There are things about your identity, like your identity needs to change. The kind of pathways you use to get to, we call it the EBS math, you use to get there, it needs to change. Your leadership needs to, there's so many things that need to change. But if you will go through the uncomfortable process of changing, you'll find out that you'll be in a space where you get a lot more done in a lot less time with a lot less effort. But it was hard work because you changing and you showing up and doing actions, taking actions you've never taken before, upper level actions, that's hard work. That's uncomfortable. Well, once you do it, you find yourself in this other place. Like, for instance, I run 5 companies. I homeschool my 4 children. Someone running like on their way to their first 7 figures, or they're at multiple, they're like, oh my goodness. But think about it. But I have time to homeschool my children. I have time to lead a mentorship call every morning. I have time to work out every day. I have time to go on vacation with my family for 2 weeks at a time. I am getting a lot more done in less time by doing less, but it's harder work because it's uncomfortable to get there. Okay? If you can adopt this, what if I took my business to 7 figures? What if I took my business to 5 million? What if? And then you can adopt the second thing of who do I need to become? And what are the things I need to do to get there? They're not the things you're doing now. It doesn't mean it's none of the things you're doing now, but if it's the things you're doing now, it's at a much higher level, chances are it's a completely, right? Okay, so let me give you an example. This happened to me recently. I was talking to one of the wonderful doctors in the Ontario Business School. Already crossed 7 figures in revenue. She adopted this, like, what if, right? And she started playing around with what if I did this multiple 7 figures in revenue? But she's thinking like, I'm working as hard as I can work and all of these things, right? So we challenge all of these things. I go sit by her and say, okay, talk to me. What's going on? Okay, this is at our live event. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, I think I found it. Tell me all about it, right? Okay, so she's a surgeon and she's like, 13% of my revenue comes from surgeries. The other come from the medical things I do, right? Non-procedure things. And the procedures, of course, pay me so much more than the medical stuff. And she says, so this moment, I already reached out to the surgical center in the hospital, I believe it was. And she says, and I told them, open up more spots for me. I'm going to do more surgeries because the demand is there. The first step is that she adopted the what if, right? Like, so she adopted a number bigger than the number she had that she didn't quite know how she'd get to. It's okay not to know how. Just like, even if you're like, I could never get to 7, like, why? You're a physician. You've done so many amazing things. You've done things most people can't do and all that. Just sit with what if. So she sat with what if. She's like, I'm going to do this. Okay. That's the first thing that she did. Second thing she did is she now sat down to figure out the path. Like, how am I going to get there? What am I going to do? She agreed to do that. It's uncomfortable because now you have to say, you have to be okay with not coming up with an answer immediately, sitting with it, all of that. But she decided, I'm going to do it. Now, in order to do it, she had to do the one thing that I know entrepreneurs, especially physician entrepreneurs, almost always hate the most, which is look at her numbers. She had to look at her numbers to see what exactly is going, where are my opportunities? So that's step 3, right? She analyzed her numbers. So she pulls up her numbers and she says, oh, only 13% of my revenue is coming from my surgeries. And so there's an easy fix there. Less spots for medical, more spots for surgery. And immediately, right, massive action taker, that's what we do in the Ontario Business School. She reaches out to the surgery center, open up more spots for me. So that immediately changes her revenue. Not enough though, right? But immediately changes her revenue. And so what did she do? Step 4, she kept going. She kept going. Like, what is the path? Guys, what is the path? What is the path? How do I get there? What do I do? She then said, so this is where she called me and said that she found it. So she found something. She says, Dr. Una, and before I say this, let me just stop here to say, because she's talking about different types of procedures, this is an ethical physician. Okay. So we're not talking about making decisions based on money, making decisions on what surgery based on money. Okay. This is based on channeling her time to satisfy the demand that rewards her the most. Okay. So she says, Dr. Una, this surgery I do, I have to go to the hospital to do it. It takes at least an hour to do it and it pays me X. She's like, but there's this other procedure, which is a great procedure. And I have tons of patients who need this procedure. And she says, it takes me 10 minutes. Guys, it's a sixth of the time. It takes me 10 minutes and it pays me twice. And I get to do it in my office. I want you to think. So option number one, let's pick 1,000 just because zeros are easy to measure. Okay. Okay. So let's say she goes to the surgery center, right? She has to travel to the surgery center. She stays there. She does her thing for an hour and then they pay her $1,000. Okay. But she has this other procedure where she does it in her office. She doesn't need to move anywhere. She does it in 10 minutes. It's a sixth of the time. And then it pays her twice. It pays her twice. She's like, I found it. And she starts working the math and all. And I'm like, yeah. Is it hard work? Yes, she has to shift her identity. She needs to lead her team in a different way. She needs to reach out to ask for different surgery spots. She would need to market the new procedure so her people know that it's available and stay on it until she needs to say no to as many medical and yes to more surgical and all. She has to look at her numbers. She has to stay accountable to the numbers and the trajectory she set and all. It's hard, quote unquote, hard work, but really what it is, different work. Maybe we could even start saying it's brave work. Maybe not hard work, but it's brave work. Anyway, so now the next step for her is just to execute this plan aggressively. And when I say aggressively, I don't mean hustle. What I mean is what you decided to do, right? What you decided to do. So in 12 months, her business will be in a very different place. And why is that? Because she asked herself, what if? And she was able to sit with the discomfort of becoming the kind of person who can do that and sit with the discomfort of finding the way to pull that off and going all in on it. Now, she's in the Entrepreneur Business School. So, of course, she's going to get all the support she needs. She gets the mentorship calls on Wednesday. She has a community of docs she can bounce ideas off and reach out to when if she feels discouraged or whatever, and all of those kind of things and all of that, right? She's going to get the support that she needs. She's going to have the accountability. In fact, we are in one of the seasons of the highest level of accountability that we've probably had in the history of the school, right? And so she's going to have all of that. So all year long, she stays on track, right? So with this example, do you see that it's not about more hustle? It's about finding the clean, elegant path, right? That will get you there. We call it the EBS math puzzle. We do it all the time, right? And so I want you to walk away. First of all, I want you to share this episode with every physician in your world. Why? Because for physician entrepreneurs, which includes physicians working jobs, but building their brands, we're going to start entertaining this of what if 7 figures was the floor? And even if you can't believe it, just turn to a question with me. Like, what if 7 figures was the floor? What if that's what we did at our baseline? And you might say, I don't really care about the money. That's okay. Give it all away. The best part, and when I said this in the beginning, people didn't believe me, but in the business school, they talk about it all the time now because they're experiencing it. The best part of making 7 figures or multiple 7 figures or 8 figures or 9 figures or whatever in revenue is not the money. And I'm not saying the money's not good, but many of you are not driven by it. Okay, some are, but many are not. It's not that. It's the person you must become to pull it off. You will love that version of you. The version of me who couldn't even imagine starting a business, and this version of me that runs 5 companies, this version of me that's been on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies for 3 years in a row, I love this version of me. She is so cool. She's so cool. Okay. So even if you can't all the way believe it, just go like, what if? And just imagine with me, like lend me your energy, right? Like just imagine with me, what if this was the floor? What if this was the baseline for, and you're like, but I'm not there and I've tried. Don't worry about it. Let me tell you something. I am committed over the next 12 months, like starting from the beginning of the year, over the next 12 months, I will address every mindset shift that needs to happen. I will address the actions. I will address the pitfalls. I will give you example after example. I will bring 7-figure physician entrepreneurs and interview them, like full, maybe even hour-long interviews so you can see their trajectory. I will bring non-physician 7, 8, 9-figure entrepreneurs on this show just to show you what is possible. We are launching a movement, and the movement is about making 7 figures the new norm. Not norm, the new floor. Like this is the baseline. Okay. And if you're like, I don't want all that, give it away. There are people who need it. Give it away. Okay. Okay. So what do I want you to do today? I want you to share this episode with every physician that you know, every physician. Number two, I want you to adopt this thing of don't throw away the idea. We don't need that. It's not right. Like, and I'm going to address all of these things. Just go like, what if? What would that be like if every private practice was doing at least 7 figures in revenue? What if you knew physicians who were building brands and their brands were generating 7 figures in revenue? What if the physician coaches, they were generating 7 figures in revenue? You might say, but how? Don't worry about all of that. 12 months, I'm here for you. I will not stop. Okay? And it's, what if? Just imagine it, just visualize it, just sit with the picture. Just sit with the picture of you where the floor is 7 figures, where you're doing multiple 7 figures. Just sit with it. Okay? Sit with it. Okay. And if you're already like, Dr. Una, speak no more, this is what I've been planning to do, then I want to invite you to come join us in a container where this is what for the next 12 months is all about helping you and supporting you to implement this. We've already built out the 7-figure framework, like end to end. This is what needs to happen for us to make this the floor. And you can know it, like there are many things you know, but you're not doing. But the reason why, one of the reasons why is because as physicians, especially now that we're not in a place where this is normal. In fact, for some communities, this is a bad conversation. Okay. But because it's not normal, you need a community. You need to see people doing this. You need to see people celebrating. Oh, I just crossed 7 figures in revenue. Say, oh, I just had a 7-figure launch. Say, oh, I just crossed 2 million in revenue. Say, oh, I just crossed 9 million in revenue. You need to see this stuff. See it so much that you cannot unsee it. That's the community we have in the EntreMD Business School. And your community will rub off you. Rub off on you. You will become like your community. So that's one thing that is there that we provide, which is a thing that you need. The next thing we need as physicians is we need world-class mentorship. We need to know what to do. We were not trained to do this. You need to know, like, how does a 7-figure physician CEO show up, right? What are the pathways that get us to 7 figures as a floor, right? What is the kind of team that we need? How do we build that team? How do we hire them? How do we lead them? How do we manage like the peaks and the valleys, because everybody has them. It's not unusual for someone to say, oh my goodness, I had my biggest day and I had my biggest challenge. How do you navigate that? How do you live at peace, live a life full of joy when these two things are happening at the same time? Because so many people, they have one challenge show up and it's been a year and they haven't done anything in their businesses. Best they've done is they've done cruise control. You need the mentorship. We did not get a business education, and our medical education it is not what will help us win in the business space. It just isn't. And then the third thing we need is the gift of accountability. Because guess what? Nobody's always motivated, right? But when you have structures that hold you accountable, when you're held accountable to setting goals, setting revenue goals, held accountable to your hires, held accountable to the activities that will move the needle forward, held accountable to all of those things, guess what? You move further, faster. This is our zone of genius. This is what we do in the EntreMD Business School. And this is why we've had so many people build phenomenal businesses. So that's what I want you to do. But I want to leave you with this thought. What if? Okay? So I just want you, like just before you get off this episode, I just want you to think, for those of you not at 7, what if over the next 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, whatever, you hit 7 figures? What if you did it in 24? What if you did it in 12? What if you added 7 figures for those of you already doing 7 figures? Maybe if you added a few 7 figures, what if you finally cracked 8 figures? Think about that. Okay? So I want you to hold that thought. I want you to hold the what if. I want you to play with the math. Okay? And I will see you on the next episode of the EntreMD podcast. But make sure you follow, because the next 12 months is all about you and your first or next 7 figures in revenue. Rooting for you always.